Like and subscribe. Look, the idiocy of femininity proves that homosexuality is a conditioned behavior. I mean, it is so ridiculous to say that a child is born homosexual. When does a child enter puberty? When does a child enter puberty? When does a person's sexual instinct become alive? A baby is born knowing how to suckle and cry. That's it. Suckle, cry, and sleep, and breathe. A child is not born homosexual, nor does a child even know anything about being a homosexual. Let me explain to you where sexuality began. Sexuality began when men started going off to war and developed unnatural behaviors. It is unnatural for men to be in groups of men minus women. That is unnatural. It is unnatural for women to be alone in groups of women for continued lengths of time. It makes no sense. War makes no sense. The only time in a person's life where men and women are going to be absent of each other is in war. It's in war. And when it is one thing for countries next door to each other to have conflicts over territory. That's natural. That is natural. All animals conflict over territories. But when you go on long marches for the purpose of exploiting and colonizing people, that is unnatural. That is not a skirmish for territory. That is exploitation. And it is unnatural. And the only people that would even come to think of such a thing would be an inferior race. An inferior race does this because they cannot support themselves with the resources they have at their possession. When you are inferior and you can't support yourself with your own natural resources, then you go off to steal and take from others. War shows your level of incompetence. That's all it does, and it's unnatural. And like I said before, sex is instinctive. It is not something that people can resist. It is as natural as eating. When a person reaches the age of puberty and their body starts to mature. But a 5-year-old kid can only be conditioned to be homosexual which is why the United States is pushing homosexuality in Africa. Why aren't they pushing homosexuality in India? Why aren't they pushing it in other Caucasian nations? Why Africa? Because they want to emasculate the black man. You talk about, and I mean, the situation is so ridiculous and so repulsive and disdainful and satanic and demonic. It is ridiculous. You're going to go over to Africa and tell them that you're interested in gay rights, but yet and still you torture, humiliate, and emasculate black men in America. You deny us our civil rights, but you want to give civil rights to a group of people that don't even exist in Africa unless they've had ties with Europe or America. It's ridiculous. Now let's look at feminism. The most secondly, the most you can. I mean, feminism and racism, homosexuality. Those are all conditioned behaviors. All conditioned behaviors, and that's why in the United States you're trying to put that in grade schools and condition young children to become homosexuals. Demonic feminism. To show you that it is a conditioned behavior, women, what was feminism early, equal pay for equal work, I can understand. But what you got going on now is ridiculous. Doesn't even make sense. A woman thinking that she is physically stronger than a man. And to show you how strong conditioning is, women watch other women get the living crap beat out of them. And then you ask that woman, are women equal to men? And they will give you an excuse as to why this woman lost. And if you've watched my videos, then you know that truth builds up. It adds upon itself. Lies need excuses. When someone gives you an excuse, they are lying. Because truth has reason. And the reason is always within nature. Reason is within nature. Truth is within nature, and it adds up. Lies need excuses. Excuses take away from the truth. They take away from the truth because they don't make sense. Feminism doesn't make sense. Humanity would have never divided women's sports from men's sports if men and women were equal. Now we've talked about homosexuality and we've talked about feminism. Now let's talk about racism. Racism is a learned behavior that Caucasians have taught their children. It is a learned behavior. How do we know it's a learned behavior? You put a Caucasian kid, Neanderthal, with a Homo sapien kid, melanated, close the door, and they will play. They will play. Not only will they play, if you put some food in there, they will share it. You put a toy in there, their natural instincts would be to play together. That's a fact. That is a fact. Mainstream media creates these narratives. You see, the problem is we live in a plutocracy, and the fathers of our country created generational wealth. These men were thinkers. They were liars, but they were thinkers. They passed that generational wealth down to their trust fund babies. Trust fund babies are not the intellectual go-getters that their fathers were. They are spoiled kids. They are spoiled kids. They do drugs. They commit crimes that their parents will get them out of. They do not live in a world of cause and effect because their parents allow them to cause mayhem, but they do not suffer the effects of it. You see, you have trust fund babies, and these babies are like Hunter Biden, the drug addicts. They're like Donald Trump, perverts, sexual perverts and rapists. And that's what we have, and that's what the plutocracy is made of people who have no rules. And when you have people who do not understand rules that are for the benefit of the survival of humanity, you get racism, feminism, homosexuality, and drug use. That's what you get because this is their world. It reminds me of what Ike Tina said. Drugs is only a problem when you can't afford them. Being a rapist is only a problem when you know you're going to be prosecuted. Being a feminist is only a problem when you can't afford to pay someone to do everything for you. And being a racist is only a problem when you can't get away with violating someone else's freedom. And you see, the only people that can do this are the rich, the plutocracy. But the plutocracy have minions, people who want to be rich. And they will do everything they can to be rich. They will try to satisfy the plutocracy so that they can join. But the plutocracy is not going to want them to join because they want to keep their advantage. Let me conclude. Everything that I've told you is common sense. It's all common sense. When you see with your mind, it's common sense. And you know that mainstream media are the ones pushing these false narratives. See, when you reason with your mind, you think within out. When you are susceptible to false narratives, you think from the outside in. Everything they put on TV goes into your mind and they reinforce it. Black people ask, why do people from other countries hate black people? The reality of the situation is that They fear the bully. They fear the colonizer who is the bully. And so to protect themselves, they go to the narrative that if you can't beat them, you join them. But they're joining demons. And there is no honor among thieves, or they would not be thieves. A thief and a thief has to become a liar to get away with his ill-gotten gains. So if you think that befriending the person who dropped the atomic bomb on you, if you think the person who colonized you is going to love you, you're out of your mind. Submitting to this person, showing submission to this person is what they want. And they want to keep you in a position of submissiveness. And they will always test you to make sure you know your place. And if you think you have a place with someone who abused your parents and your past generations, then you are their fool. And that is where you will remain. And your karma will be every time they put their foot on your neck or their knee on your back. God bless you. Have a nice day.